Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sisters in Service. I am your host, Kat Corchado. Today, I am interviewing Marie Celestin, also known as the Sacred Self-Care Goddess and Wellness Coach. She's also a #1 best-selling author of her book, One Habit to Thrive in a Post-COVID World. Marie, welcome to Sisters in Service. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Kat.
You're so welcome. So I met Marie in a clubhouse room. And for those of you that don't know, Marie's not a veteran. However, she is a wellness person. So even veterans need wellness and health and all of that stuff that makes us and keeps us healthy. I wanted to have her on the show to talk about wellness. Now I could, but it's just better when it comes from someone else. You're like, oh, she's saying it. It's kind of like, when your mom says to brush your teeth and then someone else says brush your teeth and you do it because they said it and not because your mom said it. So I'm so glad to have you, Marie. You help women, stressed out women, put themselves first, correct?
Yes, I do. And, one of the reasons is because I was that woman. So, recently I started remembering how, there was a time in my life I was laid off. I was working in healthcare, and the place where I was working, I came in one day, got laid off. I was a new mom. My son was barely 2. And I didn't have a job. And of course, I started stressing out because how am I going to feed him? Where's the money coming from? And so when you have that level of stress and then you have a little one to care for,
Yes,
it doesn't take much to turn your world upside down. And so stress was literally
you can almost feel it. It's like it's on top of you, but as women, we're so used to putting everyone and everything in front of us, the kids, the house, the job, the this, the that, and then by the time you get to you, it's 11 o'clock at night and you're like, okay, do I do mindfulness or do I go to bed? I'm going to bed. And then the cycle repeats. So tell me how you get women to turn that around. How do you get them to start thinking of themselves first?
To me, it starts with conversation, because a lot of time I don't want to start with judgment, because even for me, I didn't know any better. I grew up in families of women workers.
Of course.
Work.
Most of us did.
And so I'm the daughter of a Haitian immigrant. And so I grew up with women having multiple jobs. And so a lot of time it's through the conversation when we're talking to each other around the kitchen table or around the water cooler at work. And you start hearing conversation like, oh my God, I just crashed. I got home, I cooked. And we always have multiple shifts. Even if we have 2 jobs, we get home and you have multiple things to do.
Oh, yeah. If you don't have 4 jobs, then you're not working.
No, you're not living. Just like, and depending on the age of the kids, or if you caregivers also with older parents, it's even, there is no sleep until and I told someone recently, just because you close your eyes doesn't mean you're sleeping.
That's
you
true.
Just literally passed out.
Right.
So when we started having those conversations, it was more, okay, so what are you doing? And women would always share like, I'm so stressed out, or they don't say anything. I didn't say anything when I was dealing with all this stuff. I kept it all. And if you knew, you knew, but there was a shame about not being able to hold it all together. Right. So if I say something,
exactly,
you weak, you should be able to do this. My mother did it. Her mother did it. And you just have one child and you barely can like do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, it's not just that. We have so much going on. So through that first conversation of just asking, like, what's stressing you out, and being open enough to share, like, I don't have the time. And even if you have family around, they're not really helping with anything, or there's no one to listen to. Like, I had a talk with someone I just met online, and she's like, I can never have a conversation with anyone where it's just about me. So our conversation was just about her, nothing more. How's your day? How you feeling? Like, she never has that conversation where, especially if you're the strong one, like if you're the strong one, you're the one who's always listening. Always.
Well, most women are, most women are. I mean, we grow up. And so remember they talked about, multitasking, it's not good, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like we're forced into that multitasking. Like, we have no choice but to multitask. So how can you now tell us, okay, well, you're not supposed to multitask, when that's what we were grown up to, we saw our mothers do it. and then we're thinking, yeah, we're getting it done. We have a job and we're frying the bacon and putting it in the pan and getting it done and all this other stuff. And then we're exhausted. And by the time the kids are grown, you have no energy for you ever. It's like, me, what are you talking about? Who has time to talk to me? So where do you start with a woman? If do you just start with a conversation and you kind of pick up little things when you're talking to them? Or how does that conversation start? Like when someone reaches out to you, why are they reaching out to you?
They're reaching out because, let's say they're seeing me online or somebody says, so one of the things I'm always reminding women is to take a break. Like we don't know what it means to just sit still. And that's where the mindfulness come in, where I give literally one thing to do a day, where you just take 3 minutes to just breathe. We think we're breathing.
Oh yeah, we're not.
And be like, oh my God, I got to wash the dishes. Or if I'm doing a mindfulness exercise, they're thinking about the stuff that didn't get done when they get here. So one of the options I offer, so I co-created this journaling circle specifically for women to take 1 hour a week to come together with other women and literally have a question where you're like, what do you want? And you get to write that for a few minutes. And that 1 hour is your time. And learning, I call it MMI, me, myself, and I day, or me, myself, and I hour. And not to feel guilty, not to feel like, oh my God, the world is going to fall apart or the baby is going to not be able to do anything because you took that 1 hour and that's all it is. And so I start that way, but also what's your interest? I think a lot of women, I realize when we're having conversation, cannot talk about self without talking about the partners, the baby,
exactly,
anything else but self. So when I ask the question about what brings you joy, what makes you happy, what do you enjoy to do, or what did you enjoy to do before all that came along? Like a lot of women were doing so many amazing creative things, and now it's almost like, who am I outside of these people? Like when I ask them, what do you enjoy? So if somebody took the kids out and your partner is away, what do you do? I have women who decide, I'm going to clean the house, or they don't know what to do with themselves.
I know, like, I'm supposed to be doing something, vacuum cleaning or something.
Like, that's what you went to do. Nobody's here. And I'm like, you better turn into like your inner child and just like run, do something, anything but work in the house. And so that's the challenge. I think it's really rediscovering, like even for myself, like, what do you enjoy when you're not working?
Yeah.
I know some people will say, many of us, women included, I love what I do. I love giving and helping people. But I'm like, so if everyone is okay, and when everyone is okay, or they have their own lives, because the babies will have their own lives.
Of course.
Partners have their
and
own
then what?
What are you going to do?
Right.
And so that's the conversation to rediscover it, but rediscover it without judgment, because again, nobody's teaching us. Nobody taught me and be like, it's okay to sit down. Like women feel guilty just sitting still on a weekend, not having to run around. So the idea that we need to always be doing.
As a mom, I remember this was years ago, but this woman came on TV and she said she was being chastised because she said, I don't want to be a mom today. Now, she didn't say she didn't want to be a mom at all. She just said, I just want a break. I just don't want to, and I thought, we're not allowed to even say that. We're supposed to want to be a mom and do all the moms. And we do, most days we do, but there are days when you're just like, can someone just come in and take that part for me? Just, get the kids lunches, get them off to school, so I could have a me day, and I think that's important. And then I was also in a group, and this was quite a few years ago, where you had to, like you talked about writing a list, but you could not mention your kids. You could not mention housework. You could not mention your husband. You couldn't mention anything that had anything to do with anything outside of you. So this was all about you. What would you like to, if you had 24 hours, what would you do with those 24 hours?
You don't know how hard that is for some women. Like we ask that question in our journaling group every week, even what do you want? And they're like, today, like this, like in my lifetime. And I'm just like, if you had free range today, and I said, you have the whole day to yourself, everything else is taken care of. kids could be at school, your
Mhm.
partner is somewhere. And the interesting thing is we look at other people with zero guilt. Like we may have a partner who go out, do their thing. I don't know what they do, fishing,
Yes.
golfing, hang out with
Yes.
friends. They're not even giving you a second thought. They are
Nope.
in that moment. And that's
Mhm.
mindfulness, where you can be in the moment and not worried about the dishes, not worried about the thing you didn't do last night
Mhm.
or even last week. I'm like, we're thinking
Mhm.
about last week in this moment.
Mhm.
So also being together, I think seeing other women do it for me gave me
Mhm.
permission that it's okay if I just lay down. Like napping has become a thing for me
Mhm.
during the pandemic because I will wait until I'm exhausted and crash. Like I'll lay down
Yes.
thinking I'm trying to get my son to sleep and I fall asleep first because
Right. You're like, wait, this is backwards.
I am so tired. And you just lay down and your body also, we
Yeah.
don't listen to our bodies. We
Yeah.
wait until we get a disease or an illness or
And
that.
that exactly. And then lack of sleep and pushing yourself so hard is when you start to get ill and
Mhm.
things start to happen
Right.
that you don't want. But I think also we have to get our significant others to step up to the plate
Mm.
and say, I'm going to go over here. You're on kid watch today.
Right. Yeah.
I'll be back, and they're like, well, when? We're like, well, when I get back,
Yeah.
or just being, there are times when my husband's like, well, aren't you going to do this? Like it might be washing the dishes. And I'm like, not right now.
Well, no. I think learning how to say that and let that stand, right?
Yeah,
And also sometimes to not having that explanation because we already feel guilty. So the person
exactly.
asking like for how and you don't do it
Mhm.
often. This is the thing too that shocks me,
Mhm.
where it's like you do it all the time.
Right.
All the time. And I do think having a partner or even a friend, like right now, what I've created, and I would recommend for others too, like for certain things, I have certain specific sisters in my life where I can say, okay, if I'm feeling this way, to be able to say, I'm
Mhm.
in pain, or someone in my life to say, you need to go lay down. So I have
Mhm.
different people where they're like, oh, did you eat today? So these are the things
Mhm.
I find myself to be that friend,
Mhm.
that coach to remind you. Like I messaged one of my clients and I said, I know it's 7 p.m. I know you're still in front of your computer right now. I know. He's like, how did you know? I'm like, I know you have not shut off the clock and you've
Right.
done working at 5 or 6, and yet
You got to
your
power
lunch
down.
over.
Yeah.
There's no switch, especially in the pandemic. Many of us are working from home. We
Mhm.
homeschooling, kids are there. We're taking care of older parents. The pets are home. Everyone is
Mhm.
under one roof. And so you don't have a break. And so I'm teaching these women to sort of schedule it.
Mhm.
So schedule the time. So whether it's like in the morning, I do a lot of things before my son wake up. And so if it's at 6 a.m. or earlier,
Mhm.
if you're an early bird, I schedule those first 30 minutes to be me.
Oh,
I'm not saying take
yeah.
the whole day because
When
some
it's
women are like,
quiet.
oh,
Nothing's
nothing.
happening.
You're
There's no
still
traffic. There's no
sleeping.
noise. It's all
I can
quiet.
hear my thoughts. It's
Yeah,
like no
I
one is
know.
asking you for anything. And you don't get this mama, 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 like 10
Mhm.
times, like somebody's
Mhm.
calling you and you're able to just be, right?
Mhm.
To just, you could be looking out. And sometimes women think I'm going to give them a specific thing to do. And the goal is sometimes to do nothing, like literally just be able to be still. You
Right.
can put some music on, you can
Mhm.
just look out. Sometimes it's nice in the morning, like you can see the birds and
Yeah.
feel like, oh my God, why am I just sitting and get used to it?
Mhm.
Make it a habit. And so I started doing that. Um, Even on Clubhouse, like we created this called Me Moments. So every
Mhm.
morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m., 6 a.m. PST, we
Mhm.
come together literally for 15 minutes. We get to share what are you grateful for? And what
Mhm.
are your intention for one intention, not 100 things you're gonna do today.
Right.
One thing
Just
you
one
like.
thing. And it could be small. It doesn't have to be huge.
Exactly. Yeah.
People think, oh, it's got to be a big thing. Not necessarily. I always tell people I always want to be grateful for those things that you can't buy with money,
Mm-hmm.
like my health.
Yes.
You can't buy health, that type of
Mm-hmm.
thing. But here's a question for you. So I was a single parent when I was in the military, and single parenthood is difficult, on so many levels. But also, when your friends are out partying because they don't have kids and you have a child, sometimes you don't have that supporting network. So, what would you tell a woman who's a single parent who doesn't have those supportive friends? What would you tell her about stress and how to incorporate some things to help her alleviate that feeling of being overwhelmed, because, you're overwhelmed as soon as you say single parent. That, overwhelmed is right on the side of after parent in parentheses. Yeah. So what would you tell a single parent who is struggling to make it work, and doesn't feel like she has time for her? Where would you start with her? What would you tell her to do?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that question a lot, partly because I was thinking, what would someone say to me literally a decade ago when I was in that situation? Because I don't think we hear it. Like, sometimes I'm even afraid to use the word self-care, because the moment you say that, some women
it sounds selfish, doesn't it? It sounds selfish. Right. Yeah.
And so I think for that woman, I think it's really just starting small with that 10 minutes. So when you get home, you don't need to dive into doing like that 10 minutes when you can sit down and take a breath and just be able to just be still. Like, it doesn't, like you were saying, it doesn't have to be something magical. I'm going to say like, oh no, don't do anything at all for 8 hours. No, like that first minute you can sit, gather your thoughts, breathe, and be like, okay, what am I going to do next? And then you can start doing, because I know I can't stop us from doing. And so those little ones, but even scheduling a time, like, I think also relationships, I realized I didn't have so many girlfriends around to say, hey, can you come over and like for an hour and then I'm going to go here. Like, I literally had to practice leaving my son while I was on leave, because I'm like, how am I going to leave this house? Like, I couldn't even leave. So I had to prepare myself to leave the house when I was going back to work. And so those things where you schedule little activities for yourself, where you say, you know what, I'm just going to go, some of us, if you live in a safe place, you can go for a walk just to clear your head and say, oh, with my son, I do everything with my son. And so during the pandemic, like, we even started, that's how I started the whole plant and gardening together, because I'm like, I couldn't just leave him, or I couldn't I don't have anyone to say, hey, come and take.
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, okay.
So, yep. And a lot of activities, like we started doing a lot of stretching together. Like, I would put a video on and do those things together. But also I wanted him to learn it's okay to have time where you don't do nothing. There's no homework. I'm not telling you to do chores. And so teaching our children that is so important, because he's watching me and I'm always going and always doing. And I do take him everywhere. So if I'm going to a fair, if I'm going to a speaking engagement, if I'm going to where I work, he's seen me in multiple spaces and how I'm navigating life. And so I think for these women, it's to really think. And then, is there something you do or you just don't think about those things? Like, do you enjoy writing? Do you enjoy painting or just scribbling? Do you have some arts and crafts stuff you do? And then there are some women who do enjoy doing stuff in the house. So for them, they might be like, girl, just cleaning does clear my head. I'm not that person.
Well, I think sometimes just, like having, like, using the vacuum cleaner. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes not having your brain engaged feels good, because you don't have to think about pushing the vacuum, you just do it.
Yeah.
Or again, ask my husband. I hate cleaning. He thinks I should like it, but I don't. I do it because you have to do it. But there are times when, just cleaning the bathroom, and I don't have, I put on some music and I just go for it, because I don't have to think about it. Makes it, my brain can disengage and I can just do these they're not mindless, but I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I'm just doing it,
Yeah.
I was talking to someone, and since COVID, I've really upped my meditation game. I've gotten more into aromatherapy, into crystals, stuff like that, because I feel like that's where I'm moving towards, even in my, my health and wellness background. And I've had people who say, oh, I just can't meditate. I just can't turn off my brain. Well, you're not supposed to turn off your brain. That's not the point.
Right.
And they said, well, I can't sit there for an hour. And I'll say, try 5 minutes. And if a thought comes in your brain, it's almost like, you see those advertisements on a truck, the truck passes by. It's like on a truck and it's passing through your brain. You're like, I'll get to you in a second. Thank you for showing that to me, and keep it moving. So I started off with literally 15 minutes, which was difficult. And then I'm now up to like 30, 40 minutes. Not every day, but I do at least 15 minutes every day, whether it's in the morning, at night, maybe a combination of both. But it's just learning something different, because you know something's wrong. You know that you're stressed. You know that you're not sleeping. You have to start somewhere. You start with something, you're like, okay, I'm not sure this is for me, but keep looking. Don't just stop.
Right.
I wanted to also ask you about what types of conditions, if any, have you seen increase because of COVID? So prior to COVID, yeah, we were stressed, we're overworked, we're not sleeping, but have you seen that increase since COVID?
Since COVID. I mean, for me, I think the condition got worse. So for me, a lot of what's happening and during the pandemic, I call them pre-existing. They were pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. And like you, I literally up my game with meditation. Like it took me a while too, because I feel like I really think I could be like the queen or even the goddess of like, I can do multiple things. I can be talking to you and I'm still doing this, but meditation, I find doing that at night and in the morning truly centers me, but very short ones. So I do an app, find it online, find it on an app, and I schedule it. It's like 10 minutes. We are done.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to longer. And when it stopped, I stop. Or sometimes I do it with one song. Like music has really helped me, where I would play the same song over and over. And I know that's the song that lifts my spirit or lift my energy.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the one I see the most, I would say, some people don't even name it, right? So depression is one. We already isolated, but some other people isolate themselves more.
Right.
Pain, like pain everywhere, like whether it's more migraines or more back pain, shoulder pains, or like there's so much
going on.
Where sometimes we think it's something else, like, oh, let me get a shot, let me get a pill. And that's the reason I love the idea of making self-care a habit. The idea that it's something you can incorporate, like a pill is not going to solve it. A surgery is not going to solve it. It's the habits that we have every day. Like I used to have migraines like every single day. Like there isn't a day where I'm not in pain. And so sometimes when we talk so much about joy and happiness and self-care, people think like, she's just like skipping along life. And I'm like, I have
no,
not like everything I do has to be modified and be really intentional and thoughtful. Like I have sciatica in my spine. And so most movement I make, like I have to be careful. I have to be very careful how long, or I can just completely get stiff.
Because you can aggravate it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why I encourage small steps, like you're saying, in terms of you don't need to jump and start doing an hour of walking when I may not be able to walk again because of medical conditions. And so starting small, and I also have been like literally finding a buddy to do certain things just as a way to keep myself accountable.
Sure.
So if I know I'm going to meet you for meditation or we're going for a walk, sometimes just going to a department store, like you see my craziness with plants. If I know they have an interest, like, oh, let's get you a new plant, or let's go get a new something you're looking, or let's just go coffee or tea. That's where sometimes the conversation come in.
It helps you slow down too.
It does. And so I think we keep a lot of things in. People think we share everything. I'm like, oh, you don't know.
Yeah, no.
And I'm one of them where it's like, I would have to be really hurt for me to be able to say to you, I'm in pain right now. And so it's nice to have people around me to look at me and be like, something is not right. And I've had that with people where I'm like, I can't wait for them to say, I'm not feeling well. Like I need to be able to pick up on what they say and don't say. That's why I listen more than offering any advice in terms of like, do this and do that. And there are some people where meditation doesn't work and for music. And so, but it's still the idea of slowing down. Even recently.
Right. Or even just closing your eyes and just taking, it's like, you think you take deep breaths. No, you don't. No, if you're stressed, you're doing total chest breathing. Okay. Deep breaths. And I've had people who have done it 3 or 4 times and they're like, oh, I feel lightheaded. And I said, because your brain isn't getting oxygen. That's why, but also, finding those times, like people say, oh, I got to walk the dog. I got to do this. And what I found is, and I used to do the same thing. I'm like, come on, Brady, let's go. Got to go walk the dog. But finding some mindfulness while you're walking, it might be looking at the plants or noticing how blue the sky is, and it sounds stupid. It really does. But I tell you what, when you take your mind off of that and put it in nature, it does something to you. You start to feel yourself calm down. Or even something as simple as, I love the smell of aromatherapy. Lavender is my favorite. And I got a diffuser, and I would diffuse the smell of lavender in my office. And it's that smell just brings me back home. It just really calms me down. So I wanted to ask you a question about, you say mindfulness is an intentional practice. Tell our audience about what you mean by that.
So for me, it can't be like everything we're doing. If I have time, it's an afterthought. If there's an occasion. So for me, the intention is knowing I'm going to practice this every day. I'm going to make the time. Nobody's going to give you time. Nobody's going to be like, you know what, Kat, you need 30 minutes to yourself. Go and do it. So if it's intentional, again, we schedule it. I mean, we see people do that with things that they truly enjoy, and that's a priority, like their shows, their favorite shows. If it's at 8:00, you don't show up at 8:30. I mean, even now you can watch things on demand, but you're like, no. I remember my Thursday night with that lineup with like my favorite shows.
Yes.
Don't call.
You were home. You done everything you needed to do. You were on the couch waiting
in front of the TV. That is intention. That is intention.
Yes.
It's a sign of what's important to you. So for me, that's the intention, knowing, okay, every morning I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. Every Friday, I'm going to schedule this time for myself. It's non-negotiable. If there's a crisis, I know we're going to step in and fix and help and resolve it. Like we literally, I think all of us are like natural firefighters. We always putting a fire out.
Oh, yes.
But we don't have a fire every day. So you could pick those days. And so for me, I schedule it. So Monday ended up being my mindful Monday. And I did it on purpose, where I would either have a group mindfulness where someone was guiding me, or I know for sure on Mondays, I'm doing my meditation. We went from 10 minutes to longer. And don't be hard on yourself. Like, again, it's a habit. You haven't been doing it your whole life. So therefore, you can't get it done in one day. And so that's the intention. But, the beauty, I know we're probably going to talk about the book later, but it's like the idea that, we had the two, genius behind the book, Forbes Riley and Steve Simblitz, to bring over 100 people together to say 100 habits that you can pick and choose. Pick one where you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to practice gratitude. My thing is, I think if you're always in a state of gratitude, hard to be stressed. If you're always looking for a reason to be grateful, that we're still living in this pandemic. Some of us, we still have our families, we have work that makes us happy. We still have people around us, right? Where we know other people are struggling, they are suffering, and they're still in mourning during the pandemic. That's enough for me to be grateful and say, I have a house over my head. My child is healthy. I'm healthy in spite of all my conditions that I have. Calms me down versus thinking about like what's not happening. Like one of the things I did during the pandemic, I stopped watching the news consistently. And then I'm like, I wouldn't let him go anywhere because I'm thinking like he's going to catch something you can't touch. And then you constantly like in a state of crisis.
Right.
And your body responds to that. Anything in your space, because that's the energy that inks and anxious. That's the other thing. I think anxiety became another condition.
On another level. Anxiety went up to a whole new level.
And it's not you. It's truly the condition that we are under. And so for me, it's really asking people to grant themselves grace. Grant yourself grace that we didn't know what to do. Like for me, I'm like, I can't be hard on myself anymore because I didn't know any better. Now that I know better, and I'm hoping your listeners, now they're hearing from both of us, you now have a little something where you can say, you know what? I heard 5 things. I'm going to pick one. I'm going to start today.
It's funny you say that, because if something doesn't exist on your calendar, if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. So don't just say, oh, in my mind. And then you're like, oh, I forgot. Put it on your calendar. You put your doctor visits, your kids visits, your dental visits, all of that. You put all of that on your calendar. So put some time for you on your calendar and do it daily. Don't do it every day. Pick a day and start with that. So sometimes we want to go from 0 to 50. So I'm in the fitness industry as I do personal training and Pilates, and people come in having never done either and want to say, oh, I want to do this 5 days a week. And I'm like, you know what? I would love to take your money, but no. Okay. Because in 2 weeks, you're going to hate me.
Well, your
Okay.
body also will.
Yeah. Let's start out with one time a week and then up it from there. So, I always tell people, I said, you didn't learn to drive in a day. And even when you got your driver's license, you weren't good. But through time and practice, you got better. And that's what you have to give these is time and practice.
Yes.
And once you do that, then you start to say, wow, maybe I can add another day. Maybe I can add, keep the same day, but add a little bit more time depending on what it is.
Yes.
So don't be hard on yourself. Pick something that, you might have to try a few things. But then you say, wow, I really like this. Let me stick with this. Yeah. So let's talk about your book a little bit. What kinds of tips do you give women in your book?
So the book has, oh my gosh, we have literally over 100. So I'm like 100 plus in the book. So it's so many. I couldn't come up with all the advice. So again, it's One Habit Press started on this whole mission of teaching people one life-changing habits. And so by bringing all of us together to sort of share that. So for me, my chapter was about planting new seeds every day. So to me, seeds are habits. So what habit would you like to develop? What habit would you like to plant? And for me, I literally share that I was planting seeds every day. So I learned to grow my own food. And that was a habit because I truly panicked during the pandemic when it started. Where I'm like, people, there was no toilet paper. You don't have food. You don't know if you're going to go and there's like stuff. And that was the thing where I literally was like, okay, you don't have an excuse in terms of I don't have a yard or I don't have land. And I'm like, let's experiment. Like, what could I grow if there was no way to go outside that I still have something to feed my baby? And he's like, he could eat. And we started doing it together. So for me, that habit was about really getting out of my comfort zone and not using, not knowing. I've never done this before. Yeah. I'm like, what would you do? And we do very well in a panic situation. I'm one of those people when things really are like falling apart. Like if the fire alarm goes off, like you want me. Like if things are.
Oh yeah, I'm like that too. And then I fall apart after everything's calmed down.
But in the moment,
like, why are you crying now?
It's already done. I'm like, do this, call this person, we have to do that, and everything is coordinated. I literally could build a team and be like, okay, you the babysitter, you coordinate the food delivery, you get this person to do this. And so my practice was really the combination of gratitude daily, but the idea of planting something every day. And so even though we're saying to people like, okay, do that one thing once a week. So for me, I literally planted something every day. Like I was able to see green around me without going outside because I was so afraid. And so I bought more houseplants than I ever bought before. And it gave me something to care for. And as they were growing, okay, I think we're going to get out of this. And as I was able to, like, I grow tomatoes and potatoes and things and see what happened. Because when you plant, and I think what you were saying earlier too, in addition to giving grace, and it's patience. Because if I plant a seed today, do I think I'm going to harvest something tonight? So it's the same with the habits. If you start meditating today, you really think you will have, like, you're going to transform after you've had the old habits, literally your whole life. And so it taught me to really slow down.
Yes.
Because I couldn't rush. We can't rush nature. Like we can't be like, oh no, I need to eat this tomorrow. Can you like grow a little faster? So it taught me, and that's what we say to ourselves. Like,
I'm hungry now. Okay.
Like, I need that potato. I need that tomato. And it really taught me, like literally going back to almost something I didn't even, almost like I'm sure our grandparents, and some of, depending on your culture, like, there's a way of waiting and patience and that kind of stuff. And so for me, that was that combination of like, okay, if you don't know what's going to happen, the best way for me to do it is to do it myself. So let me get some seeds. I went to the store, and again, we did everything together because I couldn't be like, I'm going here and then my son is somewhere else.
Right.
But I always bring other people in, but also like, how am I teaching that to other people? Because again, I'm in the city and people think you need to live in the middle of nowhere to be able to
grow something. Yeah.
To grow something, to have something in your house. And I think it's so calming, especially with anxiety. If you need something to boost your energy, and even in the house, like you mentioned, using oil, for example, plants are the best air cleaners.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They make you feel just looking.
They do. They clean the air you breathe. Yeah.
And so that was nice to sort of see green in the middle of winter. Like I live in New England. And so there's always snow. It's always gray. It's always snowing. It's like,
I know.
So to create this indoors, and then when I
Yeah.
can go outside, I can go outside, but everything is
Your indoor sanctuary with
yes,
all of your plants.
creating
Yeah.
it. So I think
Yes.
people can do that too, but I'm hearing a lot of people saying like, I'm gonna kill them, I'm gonna do this. And again, one day at a time, one plant at a time, or one habit at a time. And that's the
Yeah.
goal, is like, if it's something you're interested in, just pick
Mhm.
something when you go grocery shopping,
Mhm.
or get one seed. And again, I don't need you to start a farm. I don't need you to
Mhm.
start like a whole like we go from one, like you said,
Mhm.
from zero to like, she wants me to do everything. No, one thing. And for it to be a habit, like you said, if you just do it once a month, or
Mhm.
every time there's a holiday, or if I have time, that's not a
Mhm.
habit. We need to be able to do it daily for at least 21
Mhm.
days. And then when you're not doing it, it's the same with working out. You couldn't
Right.
get me to work out if my life depended on it. But I made the time on Sundays for
Mhm.
30 minutes only, 30 minutes
Yeah.
on Zoom with someone.
Mhm.
And I show up. When I don't show up, I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing something. I can't stop now because it's part
Yeah.
of my
You have an
schedule.
accountability
Yep.
person. And now you find that you're walking even if your accountability partner
Doesn't.
isn't there.
Exactly.
But I
Yeah.
think you just have to, sometimes when you're talking about stepping out of your comfort zone, and I remember talking to a woman, we were talking about plants. She said, "Oh, I'm not good at planting. I
Mhm.
just can't. I kill plants." And I'm like, "You're a mom, right?" And
Mm.
she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Your child's still alive, right?" She's
A
like,
whole
"Yeah."
human being.
I said, "Then planting something isn't half as hard as raising a child."
Hmm.
I said,
Hmm.
if you give 1 ounce of the attention to a plant, that plant's going to thrive,
Yeah.
you know? And I
It's
think also, manifesting stuff. So, you know how sometimes you get up in the morning, you stub your toe, and then you stand up, you hit your head, and you say to yourself, this is the kind of day I'm having.
mhm.
And then you end up having that day. And I tend to think of it this way. I tend to think that God is telling me to slow down, take a breath, and then say to yourself, okay. And this is what I say. I'm like, okay, I got the message. I got them, and I slow down, and I end up not having that type of day.
Right. Right.
But when you think about meditation, don't just not think of something, kind of think in your mind where in a almost like in a movie frame. Like if you're watching a movie of your life and where you wanted it to be 5 years from now, what would that look like?
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden you're meditating and you don't even know you're meditating because it's calming you down, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So where can people find your book?
So the book is on Amazon. And so literally if you just type one habit, and so this particular one in the series is called One Habit to Thrive in a Post-COVID World. So if you
Mm-hmm.
type that one, my page is on there. So if you type my name, that's what you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
find. And the series is amazing because regardless of the topic we're talking about, habit is everything. And
Yes.
so also what you just said reminded me also the self-talk. That's the other piece I start with women on,
Mm-hmm.
is what you say to yourself, you know,
Mm.
what you say to yourself all day long, not what other people are
Mm-hmm.
saying, what you
What
say to
you say to
people,
yourself.
to
Yes.
yourself when no one is
Mm-hmm.
watching, is the most, could be the most powerful and the most
Mm-hmm.
damaging. So that morning when you wake up, and that's why I love starting with gratitude, and I say things that I am, not like, oh my God, you hate your toes, you so, you use that word, that negative word,
Mm-hmm.
versus like, you made a mistake. This is just now. It's
Yeah.
temporary.
It's
And you can
temporary.
say, okay, Marie, this is something that has nothing, like literally, just stop me.
I know. It's like,
Just
what are
stop
you
me,
what are you doing? Come on
right?
now.
And you just snap out of it. It's almost like you're having this mirror conversation where you're like, and
Right.
also sometimes too, would you say that to a friend? Like if a friend said,
Mm-hmm.
"Girl, I woke up and I hit my toe in the at the edge of the bed," would you say you so blah blah blah? Versus like, "Oh my God, you
Mm-hmm.
were probably still sleepy," right?
Yeah.
So be as kind as we are to other people, to ourselves.
Exactly.
We not like you. That
Mm-hmm.
was an accident, and so I come up with affirmation. That's the other big one for me in terms of
Yes.
habit. Like
Yes.
I am enough. I am
Mm-hmm.
grateful. I am whole. Like those beautiful things, even on
Yeah.
my wall, I'll have words. I am joy.
Mm-hmm.
I am like the word that really makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm energy. I am light. I listen to music that remind me of those words
And
that
put
I
those words everywhere. I
yes,
I had a woman who said she wrote them on her bathroom mirror. So every time she got up in the morning, she would see those.
All you see.
She had them everywhere. She had them on stickies, on her refrigerator, in her planner, to say, yes, I am.
Yes. And one day, again, it's another habit. After a few
Yeah.
times of seeing it, you will be saying this to yourself. You'll
Yep.
be like, Kat, you're amazing.
Mhm.
I know I'm awesome. I know.
But not just saying it, you
Mhm.
start believing it.
Believing in being.
Yes.
Believing
Yes.
in, because now it's like your mind knows it. Your mind will believe
Mhm.
whatever you tell it. So that's one of the reason, like the way we mind your mind is a huge thing.
Mhm.
Like you mind that first. I know we focus so much on the external, the body.
Right.
Like we
Right.
need to work out our mind the way we want to work out our bodies, because the mind is where it
Mhm.
starts. And so I think those are the pieces, those thoughts you
Right.
mentioned earlier with the single mom, is what she's thinking about. She becomes the woman who's like, I'm going to kill that plant, or I'm going to do this. That's what you will do. And that's how I surprise myself, because I've never done all this planting stuff. No one.
And now look at you.
And I'm like, look at this.
You're the plant mommy now.
Exactly. And I'm like, no one can tell me I'm going to, but it doesn't mean one of them is not going to like dry up. It's not a reflection on me. That it happens.
And sometimes when you take care of something else, it almost makes you feel better. It's so weird that when you put your mind and body into something else, that you're like, wow. And then it starts to thrive and you're like, whoa, I did that. But one last question. What are two to three top things, easy things for someone listening, and they're totally understanding that they need to do something, but they don't know what to do? What are two or three top things you would tell someone where they could start for mindfulness? For mindfulness,
I do believe in that 10-minute of that moment, that me moment. So some people, again, using mindfulness. So I call it mindfulness, but it could be your me moment in the morning, where you take 5-10 minutes and just be with yourself. Okay, just thinking about nothing.
Right.
Just be okay and create that state of gratitude where that's all there is. You don't have to do. You don't have to be mommy. You don't have to be the worker. You don't have to
just breathe.
Just breathe. That's it. We're giving you one job to do, and breathe and be grateful in that moment.
Right.
And then the other one I would recommend is to really think about sort of what we are absorbing. I think there's a lot of time we don't think enough about the stuff we're putting on our bodies, our skin, and that has a reaction, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you mentioned, having that oil, that's part of that sacred ritual practice where I'm smelling something good. All my senses are active, whether it's something that smells good, something that looks good. And to think about creating that space within your home where it's like, that's my little nook. Yep. That's my little, we do this.
Stay out. Get out. This is my space.
Right. We do this for everyone. We do it for fur babies. I do it for my plants. They have their area where they can shine. Do you have literally a corner in your home where you're like, when I'm here, this is my time?
And it's your space.
Yes.
So be unapologetic about what it looks like, because it's what you want it to look like. Marie, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure we could just, do like hours about this, but what's the best way for people to find you if they want to reach out?
The best place is to find me on Instagram. So Talk with Marie. I'm on every platform. So Talk with Marie is the name, whether it's Instagram or YouTube, but that's the source. That's the hub where you can find the Sacred Self-Care Goddess. I'm always sharing tips in terms of what people can do, but also the next thing. So a lot of time, you don't have to do this by yourself. You have Kat, you have me, in terms of like, what are those tips, right? And really start thinking about what is that one thing. And so for me, my DMs are always open. People can have conversations with me.
And there are no stupid questions.
Nope.
Just ask. That's all you got to do. Just ask. And then you'll get an answer. So sometimes just asking the question is the first step to learning more about you. So Marie, it's been such a pleasure having you on Sisters in Service. I'm so glad that you were able to come on and give some information that helps every woman, regardless of whether they're veteran or not. If you're a woman, take care of you, because there's only one of you.
That's it.
And if you don't do it, no one else is going to. Okay. So Marie, thank you so much. For everyone else, I hope you will stay tuned for our next show, and I will have more information about that. But until next time, please take care of each other and be safe.